Welcome back to another episode of Face to Facetime. My name is John Ryan, and my guest today's name is Helen Hong. Helen is a comedian, actor, TV writer, TV host, podcaster, and overall, from what I have, my experience with her, very knowledgeable in activist movements. And I wanted to have her on today because, to be honest, I wanted to have on somebody who was Black, that was part of the Black Lives Matter movement. Somebody who participates actively in fighting social injustice. But I also didn't want to take time away from somebody from the Black community, from their time to protest, from their time to grieve, from their time to be a part of their community. I wanted to make sure that what I was doing was at my arm's length. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't exploiting anybody's image or race. And I didn't want to make it seem like I was having somebody on because of their race. I wanted to make sure that I had somebody on that had knowledge, that has done a lot of the research, that can now give us a lot of research. And she's Asian. I'm not Black. Big surprise. I'm Japanese and Mexican. So she's Korean, and we are Asian people. So I wanted to talk to her and understand what can the Asian community do to be helping right now. Because we're normally silent people. Just part of the culture. And I wanted to see how we can contribute to making sure that things like this, all of these deaths. I wrote all the, Breonna Taylor, Freddie Gray. I don't need to read them all. You guys know all of them. But I wanted to make sure that I had an episode that was doing my part for people that might not know a few of these things. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. I'm not even going to plug the subscribing things because it's not about that. Just if you're interested in that, you'll find it. But if you're just listening, I would say go donate to the Black Lives Matter movement and do research on other things that you want to donate to when it comes to this matter: police and justice system, defunding the police, things like this. Hope you enjoy our conversation. I'm going to call Helen.
Hey.
Hi, Helen.
How are you? It's been a long time.
It's been a while. I'm okay. That's fair to say, right?
That's pretty much, yeah. Everyone's like,
Mm-hmm.
I am what I am.
Yeah, I mean, before this, obviously the pandemic stuff isn't necessarily like a good backdrop for what's happening now. So it's just like we added too much salt to the dinner, and now we're just like spoiled and it's fucked.
It's like we went from fucked to more fucked.
I want to know like how you're holding up this weekend, because I know that you and I have worked on some Bernie stuff in the past, and I know that you were you're very socially active in civil rights. So
I try to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like in this day and age, if you're not, you're being a piece of shit. Because I feel like in what's happening now is you just can't sit it out. You can't sit out this one because it's just gotten so bad. It's gotten so bad, and I think I feel like the police is like a corrupt institution at this point. And you just can't sit back.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are saying like where it stems from is just all I hear, and maybe you can shed some light on this, all I hear is that it's systemic racism and it's coming from some source, but there's no one could really seemingly put their finger on it's this. It's just they say the system, the government. It's very broad, blanketed terms that we don't know. Therefore, it's hard to understand exactly how to help. So, or what to do, right? Who's to blame?
Yeah.
And what would you say to someone trying to take steps in figuring this out, or maybe you do know what it is?
I mean, I am not going to pretend to know what the answer is right now, but I definitely think the way police is treated in our country right now is not, it's wrong. Mm-hmm. And there needs to be a serious overhaul of the policing system. Mm-hmm. The way police are funded, the way that they how are
they funded?
They just have so much money. They're just funded so well, and their pensions are so good, and they just their unions are too strong. There's just too much stuff that's protecting police and just not enough accountability. Oh. Let me tell you something. If every time someone is wrongfully murdered by the police or wrongfully harmed by the police, mm-hmm. They have the right to sue the city. Mm-hmm. And then the city oftentimes, all these cities have paid out millions of dollars in damages to the families of people who have been, murdered, maimed. Mm-hmm. These people, let me tell you something. If that money came out of a police force's pension fund, that shit would stop immediately. Mm. It's not right now. That money is not coming out of a police's pension fund. That money is coming out of city coffers that could be used for roads, for healthcare, for school systems. All of those systems that we depend upon are being depleted by millions of dollars to pay out people who have been murdered by cops.
Oh, wow.
And why is that happening? Why are the rest of us paying for the mistakes of some really shitty cops? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Why doesn't that money come out of police pension fund? That shit needs to come out of police pension fund. And let me tell you, that shit would stop immediately.
Yeah.
Because the police are not paying.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, they're just acting like the dicks that they're murdering black folks, they're murdering Latino folks, they're maiming, they're doing all this stuff. It doesn't come out of their wallet.
They're acting like the boss's son, where it's no consequences. Someone else is going to pay for this.
No consequences. They, even if a cop gets fired, they're still allowed to collect their pension. Why?
Oh, wow.
Why? That cop, Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis, the one that murdered George Floyd.
Yeah.
He's still allowed to collect his pension. Why? That's not right.
No, that's not right at all.
That's not right. That guy should be fired. His pension fund should go to George Floyd's family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's also not right. In prison, right? So... Well, he's being tried.
He's
in
being
jail.
Charged. He's charged. I don't know if he's made bail or what.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, he's also charged with third degree, and from what I understand, it's only because that's what they can prove, and they can't. It's more likely that he would get charged with third degree than if they. It's a chance he could get off if they tried it with first or second.
That's degree. Right. That's what happened in Baltimore with Freddie Gray. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they charged those cops with too high a degree, and then they couldn't prove it.
Oh, okay.
And so those cops cut off.
So is that right there a systemic issue where it's the system is set up for the cops to succeed?
Yes, absolutely.
I see.
The police unions are so strong. Mm-hmm. They put up so many barriers to protect the cops. And I read a great quote the other day. I don't know who wrote this quote. It was just floating around on it as a meme. Mm-hmm. But if there's 10 cops that are good, decent cops. No, if there's 10 cops on a police force that are shitty cops, but then there's 100 cops that are good, decent cops, but they don't call out those 10 cops, you have 110 bad cops.
Yeah.
And that's the world that we're living in. Like of course, not all police are bad, but all police are protecting the bad ones, which makes the inherent police force bad. You know, if you can't punish and there's no consequences for bad actors, the whole system is bad.
Yeah.
You know, the whole department is bad. And you can take, you know, I've seen cops taking a knee. Fuck that shit. Who cares? I don't care if good cops are out there taking a knee. I want the police pension fund to stop paying out bad cops. I want that money to be used towards the families who have been hurt by bad cops.
What would be steps to take to getting that to happen? I mean, it feels like protesting is at least something that now people are paying attention to. Obviously, it's on the news. People know that it's happening.
I think I think we need to have lawmakers who agree with this and pass laws that say, hey man, if you're a shitty cop, guess what? You're not getting your pension. You're fired. You're not getting your retirement. You're not getting your pension. You're not getting your health care. You know, your family's not getting shit.
Yeah.
If you're a shitty cop who murders someone on the force, guess what? You get nothing. You get nothing. And that will change the police culture immediately. Because to this day, all those cops that have been bad actors, they are allowed to collect their pension. Their family is allowed to collect their pension. Fuck that. Fuck that. That needs to stop.
Did you hear about the Derek Chauvin's wife, like, divorced him that day?
Yeah.
And was like...
She's Asian.
Oh, I saw that. That's right.
She's Asian. Like, what was she doing? You know, and that's another thing that needs to happen is, like, other minority groups need to step up. Like, Asian Americans need to step up.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Like,
in defense of Black lives, because we've been too silent. We've been too quiet.
We are pretty silent, huh? That's like
and that's just part of our culture. Is like we're not that, you know, we're like not that loud.
Yeah, I mean, even this weekend, like, okay, so this weekend I mean, first off, I'm afraid of the protest because you see what's going on, and people again. I know I have friends that got shot by rubber bullets, and, like, you know, some arrested, some, you know, just so you see people just getting beat up that seem innocent too. You're not there for the full story, so you're like, okay, well, there's a violent thing happening over there. I'm just gonna not go over there. What the fuck do I do? Like, I want to donate now. Okay, so I don't know who thinks this, but I will put myself on the chopping block and say that I thought it. Where there's a Minnesota bail fund, right?
Correct.
Okay, so now that is just if you're just focusing on the headline. It's a fund that will bail out protesters.
Correct.
Now, here's where I was scared to just give money without doing my research.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask somebody on the podcast that I want this information out there because I know that I'm wrong in thinking that, how do I know that this person deserves to get bail posted? I'm not there for the due process. I wasn't there when they committed whatever they did, even if they didn't do anything. I'm afraid to donate money to something that, you know, and I'm not saying don't donate. I'm saying do research to figure out, to make sure that these people, you know what I mean? And so, so just to ask you, this fund, is there something that I missed while reading about this fund that, you know, that maybe there is a due process qualification that it needs to meet?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think that if you have any hesitation to give to that fund, then don't give to that fund. Especially now that we're hearing that a lot of people that are arrested are not even Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, once I heard that, I was like,
and they're not even local. They're like from out of state, and they're just outside agitators. And, you know, they've been doing a lot of contact tracing for, you know, finding out who has been arrested at these things, and a lot of them are outside agitators.
Can you explain the contact tracing thing?
Contact tracing is they arrest the guy. They go, hey, where do you live? Where did you get this information from to show up here? Like that kind of stuff. And they're finding that most of the people who started this shit on the first night, and now it's turning out like most of the people that are starting shit at all of the protests across the country are actually not Black Lives Matter protesters. A lot of them are white nationalists who are agitating to start a civil war,
I see.
which is some heavy ass shit. Because there's a whole there's these militia, right nationalist people who are want to overthrow the United States government.
Yeah.
And they're using this as a way to agitate. So they're showing up at a protest site, breaking a bunch of windows, starting fires. Everybody's wearing masks now, so you can't even tell. And it's yeah, I mean, there are so many layers to the situation that's going on right now, and I myself did not go to the Black Lives Matter protests in LA because I'm frankly afraid of getting coronavirus.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason to not go.
But I talked to a lot of people that went, and literally every person said it was completely peaceful until the cops showed up.
You know what?
Every single person has said that.
Yep. I was looking through a lot of footage today about, everything, and there are several people that are showing, you can see in certain video feeds that there's peaceful stuff going on, and then you can see the timestamp on the next video, and then the cops are showing up, and then they start provoking. And, and that's not to say all cops are bad. There's a lot of really good cops out there that were, marching with these people. Now, I don't know if it's...
I think they're the minority.
They're the minority, yeah.
Those cops, the good cops are the minority. The good cops are outnumbered. And, if you do... I have a lot to get educated myself, but I didn't know until I started sort of researching this stuff that police in the United States started as a way to round up runaway slaves. That is the history of the police force in the United States.
Wow.
That was the original reason why police departments were formed.
No way.
They were started to collect runaway slaves and bring them back to their masters. So the police force,
oh my God,
historically in the United States has been deeply racist and is deeply racist to this day. It's very common knowledge that a lot of police officers are secretly members of the KKK. They're secretly members of white nationalist groups. They're not so secretly openly Trump supporters.
Yeah.
The head of the police union in Minneapolis was campaigning for Trump in 2016. All this footage has come out for him. They're frankly, a lot of them are white supremacists. So that's the history of the police in the United States.
That's insane.
It's a force that was started to round up runaway slaves. So if you think about that in context, no wonder there's been hundreds of years long animosity between police and black folks. No wonder black folks don't trust the police. Y'all were started to round us up, round them up when they were slaves. It's so fucked up. So if you do your history and you do your research, there's a long history of distrust between black folk and police. And, we keep saying, not all cops are bad. I hate to say, after seeing what's been going on this week, I would say most cops are bad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to flat out come out and say, there are good cops. They are the minority. The good cops are in the minority. The average cop is an asshole.
Yeah, so I want to sort of give it more of a granular example. So I used to work in nightclubs, right? I used to work there as photographer. So I was cool with the bouncers and stuff. And that's, working in nightlife, that's who you get to know. You get to know the bartenders and the bouncers. Those are your friends.
Right.
And those are your friends, and it's strategy too, because it's also a cool thing, right? For one, you get free drinks from the bartender. For two, you can just get in, and then if anything goes down, the bouncer's on your side, right?
Right.
Okay, so, but I would see how they treat other people, right? And I'm not saying that all bouncers are bad. I'm saying that they're on guard, that they are in a position of power physically, that and somewhat authoritative, right? In the terms of me and them and a club goer. So they would always, most of them had that thing where they were like, "What do you want?" And that's just like a power dynamic that naturally happens to people. I mean, Stanford Prison Experiment. You remember that? If no one knows about the Stanford Prison Experiment, there's 2 movies about it. You can watch it. But basically what they do is they take a bunch of boys of the same age and they...
College students.
Do you want
like,
can you explain it? You probably know it better than I do.
Kids in college, and they did a social experiment where they separated half of the boys. They kind of put them in a like a warehouse setting, and they secluded them, and they separated half of the boys and said, "Hey, you guys are the prison guards," and then the other half of the boys, they said, "You guys are the prisoners. Now have at it." And these were civilian, just college boys who acted out like, and it was gnarly. It became like Lord of the Flies.
It became an actual prison.
It became an actual prison where the boys who were told they were prison guards started abusing the boys who were told they were prisoners. And it got real hairy and real gnarly and did a lot of like psychological fucked up damage to both groups.
So just as a thought experiment, let's take out the fact that cops were built off of capturing slaves, runaway slaves. Take out any racism out of that, and just isolate the idea of Stanford Prison Experiment. So
here's what I'll just cut you off and say the fact that you can become a police officer in the United States without taking any sort of personality test, any sort of temperament test, any sort of screening to your state of mind is fucking crazy. We are taking people who have mental illness, who have rage management problems.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just... Yeah, right? Rage management, bullying tendencies. Like, we're taking these people, we are arming them to the teeth. We are protecting them. We are putting them above the law. And we're just sending them out into the world. And that is, like, problem number 1.
Yeah.
If I were in charge of the police, like, you should not be able to become a cop without taking any sort of temperament screening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean... Yeah, they don't even. There's some like tech jobs that you can't have without like a personality screening.
That's right. That's right.
There's
so many jobs that you can't get that are way less. Like to become a teacher, like all this stuff. Like this is like we are arming you and telling you that you are allowed to go out there and shoot people. And abuse people, and we're not taking any sort of personality test.
I had to take a fucking personality test for working at Best Buy.
You did?
Oh yeah. I mean, they did the thing. It's part of like your application or whatever. You have to click agree, sort of agree. Like that on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Basically, they have a system that I guess it's like maybe like a point system. I don't know, to understand your personality off of that.
Wow.
I mean, this was. 2006 probably.
Yeah.
But I think that I want to say they had me do that too for getting I used to work at Quiznos too. So embarrassing. But they had me take some sort of test like food, because you get to work with food, you had to take it.
Right.
Anyway, what do you know what the tests are? What test does a person have to take to become a cop?
It's different per city. It's different for every police department.
Okay.
There are some police departments that are so hard up, they'll literally take anybody.
Oh, God.
They will take anybody. Like they are such a low, in big cities especially, like they'll just take people off the street. Like if you're interested, like you go to police academy, and as long as you pass police academy, now you're a cop.
It's a little bit like being in the army, I guess. They're just like, okay, yeah,
exactly
sure.
Right.
We need a soldier.
Warm
we need a body
who wants to do it. I mean, to be fair, it's a shitty job. It is
totally.
It's a shitty job. And And it's hard. It's a hard job, and it takes a very specific person. Here's my theory. I do believe that there are 10 to maybe 20% of cops who genuinely want to do the right thing, who genuinely join because they want to make a difference in the world. They want to be the good guy. They want to be a hero. Like they want to be all these things, and they go into the police force for altruistic reasons. I would say there's probably another 20% who do it because they just can't get another job, and they're like, well, it's got a good pension and it's got good retirement benefits,
and it's easy to become a cop.
It's easy to become a cop. The money's good. It's dangerous, but if I can get through it, like I get this amazing pension and like great health benefits and all that. And then I would say the other 60% are bullies.
Yeah.
Like, why else would you want to become a cop unless you have some sort of bully tendency? You have some sort of rage problem, and you want to get your rage out in a legally sanctioned manner. You played a lot of video games and you like fucking shit up. I think that's 60%. That's my guess, is like 60% of cops across the country are bullies who just want to be protected. Bullies.
Yeah. That's
what's so fucked up, and that's why like the fact that we don't have any sort of like temperament screening is bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing against anyone fat, but there's fat cops, and they have to be. These are people that should be physically able to take a person down if they're causing harm to another person, like diffuse situations.
And that's the thing that is
people.
really. That's the thing that's really that you can really see the stark difference between the United States and countries where cops do not carry guns. Like Canada, the cops are in great shape.
Yep.
The UK, Japan, Korea, like all of these places where cops are not allowed to carry guns. A, cops are in better shape. B, they can take somebody out without deadly force. And C, they have they're more able to defuse a situation without getting out of hand.
Yeah.
They're like, they're trained more in like, okay, like
psychologically trained.
De-escalation. Yeah. They're more trained in de-escalation. Whereas cops here in the United States, they have a mace, they have a taser, they have a gun, they have a baton, like they're armed to the teeth. They don't know how to de-escalate. They don't know how to de-escalate, and they don't know how to defuse, and half of them are in shitty shape, so they can't even like.
So they have guns. Like, that's all they can do. A mace or
that's all they can
tasers.
do is just point a gun, because you can be fat and out of shape and shitty and like mentally ill and point a gun.
Yeah.
But you can't. That. I mean, if you go to statistically all of these other countries, the cops are just better at de-escalation.
So what's the best way to, I guess, in the voting booths, sort this out? Like, I mean, the one thing I would say is like you have to do research and figure out who's who before you get there.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. You have to, we need to put people, it all comes down to money. It all comes down to money. And that's why like on my Twitter and on my Instagram, I've been posting, because the LA City budget was due today. June 1st was when the LA City budget was. And there's a movement now to call, lawmakers and be like, hey, I know you guys are working on the budget. Let's defund these fucking cops.
Oh.
Like, let's take this money, these billions, and I mean billions of dollars that these cops are given, because they're paid well. We pay for their health insurance. We pay for their families' health insurance. We pay for all the insane amounts of gear. Cop cars, the tank. Like, why do our police force have tanks? Why do we have like so much like
police force have tanks? It's not just National Guard?
No, like we have like our cops they have paramilitary equipment.
And okay.
Why do they need this? We're not at war. The LAPD is not at war. Like, why does LAPD have paramilitary equipment? Like, who are they going to invade? They're invading us, the citizenry.
Yeah.
It's not like LAPD, like, the LA County is not at war with, like, San Bernardino County. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
So, like, why do they have tanks? Why do they have,
Why do you think it is, actually?
it's all money. It's all money, and we need to
What does that mean?
like
It's all money.
we've been just funneling money, and it's people who, it comes from a place of fear where people
Mm-hmm.
are like, oh, I want my streets to be safe,
Mm-hmm.
and for my streets to be safe, the cops have to be well funded.
Okay, so like it's fortifying. They're fortifying what they think is needed for safety. And so they're like, well, if
So
we get tanks, if we get all this
all these
shit.
people vote for these people, and like
Mm-hmm.
they're like, my number one priority is that I want safety and security. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just push all this money to the cops so that the cops have all the money they need. And now they're like, there's just no accountability. The police union has become too strong.
Mm-hmm.
You can kill a motherfucker and still collect your pension.
Mm-hmm.
Even you're armed to the teeth. Like the police in this country have just become like more powerful than God, and
Mm.
so we need to. It's all about the money. Like we need to defund police.
So
Defund.
one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on was because I know that we had done some work in the past politically for Bernie, and I knew that you were active in general activism. And what I wanted to ask you, because we're both Asian,
Mm.
what is something that the Asian community can be doing to help the Black community in a time like this?
Uh, we need to put our bodies on the line if need be. We need to be out there protesting, put up signs, make phone calls. Like, if you don't want to put your body on the line by going out and protesting and
Mm-hmm.
showing your face, send money. Send money to, like you said, the Minnesota Bail Fund, MFF is one. There's a lot of even LA right now needs a bail fund. Black Lives Matter,
LA definitely needs a bail
NAACP.
fund. LA is. Would you say that protesting is biggest in LA?
I would say so right now.
It
Yeah,
seems like it.
yeah,
It definitely seems like it.
yeah. There's a lot like, and it's like every day it's a new neighborhood that they're hitting, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these outside actors are coming in, and they're like, they're starting shit. They're like, let's go to Beverly Hills and loot Rodeo Drive.
Yeah.
And that's not coming from a Black Lives Matter,
No.
organizer.
No. Yeah.
It's like, what does Rodeo Drive have to do with anything?
I mean,
You
one
know?
thing that I've seen more and more on social media, specifically today, is a lot of Black people that are actually, there for Black Lives Matter movement, stopping white people
Yes.
doing actual physical harm to
Yeah, because they don't want to
places.
get blamed.
Yeah, I know. I mean but
Because
that's
what's
like
going to happen. Like, yeah, like these white people come and they stir shit up, and then ultimately the boot comes down on the Black protesters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like well, one thing I wanted to say was I firsthand. Okay, listen, I'm not saying that we experience the same racism as Black people or anything near it. I'm simply just gonna say what I felt. And okay, so when coronavirus all started and stuff, right? There was a big there was a thing happening where a lot of Asians were getting harassed.
That's right.
Did you experience any of that?
I did not experience that, but my parents did.
Mm.
Because my parents live in Boston, and they took the coronavirus very seriously from the beginning because they were getting, my parents are like Korean, like fresh off the boat from Korea. And so they were getting their news from Korean media. And,
Okay.
South Korea took the coronavirus very seriously way early. That's
Yeah.
how they were able to get their numbers down. And so they knew how serious it was. They were getting they learned about the gravity of it from Korean news. Secondly, my mom has a lung condition. And my parents are in their 70s. So if they got it, like my mom would be dead for sure.
Have you avoided coming back home to visit them because of
Yes.
that?
Yes. Absolutely. I haven't sent them packages. I don't even it was my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday is on Mother's Day. We didn't even send a card
Oh yeah,
because we didn't want to mail anything or have them like open the mail or like do anything related to that, because my mom has a serious lung condition and she's in her 70s. And if she had gotten it, she's like prime candidate for someone who would die.
Yeah.
And so they took it very seriously. So when the lockdown started happening, or when like coronavirus really started picking up in the United States and like Massachusetts started seeing cases, my parents were like, oh, we need to stock up in case there's a lockdown. And so they went to Costco. They had their masks on. They took their masks off because nobody else was wearing masks and they were getting dirty looks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They were getting dirty looks. And they were like, we would rather take a chance of being maskless and get coronavirus than have the mask on and get like some shit go down. Cause some harassment.
Yeah. So,
and so, you know, that's my parents who live in Boston, which Boston is a very racist city. Let's not even get into it.
Yeah.
But, and then you started hearing, and I made a video for Now This Media, where I said, yeah, I did. You know, I said, it's a lot of politicians are fueling this, you know, this anti-Asian harassment by calling this a Chinese virus. This is not a Chinese, in the video I said, this is not a Chinese virus. Viruses do not have nationality. You know, coronavirus is not carrying a passport.
Yeah.
And basically, like, let's not call this and there were lawmakers that were saying all these diseases are coming out of China.
Yeah.
Like SARS. And I'm like, first of all, Ebola came out of Africa. Swine flu came out of North Carolina. So shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, these things come from everywhere.
I mean, regardless of where it came from, too, I didn't fucking eat the bat. Don't look at me like whoever the fuck it is, like they weren't trying to do this, one, and two, it's like they're not like it wasn't me. It wasn't the people that you see on the streets that caused this.
That's right.
So,
and not only that, here's how that connects to this. The same racist element that enables cops to murder Black people is the same racist element that fuels anti-Asian harassment because of the coronavirus. They're one and the same. The same person that's going to call you like, hey, bat-eating chink, go back to your country. This is all your fault. Is the same person that's going to be like, all lives matter. That's the same. You know what I mean? Those are
So real
the same
quick,
element.
Because initially I was confused about this, and I'm sure that there's got to be other people out there that don't know. But can you explain why saying specifically in a time like this, why saying all lives matter is not a good thing?
Because all lives matter discounts the fact that Black lives are being murdered at a much higher rate than anybody else. Yeah. That's why we say Black Lives Matter. It should have been Black Lives Matter 2, TOO.
That's not a bad edit.
But that's not as catchy, right?
Totally. It's extra words, graphic design-wise, it won't fit.
Black Lives Matter 2.
Yeah.
And this is to the police force because Black lives are being taken out at a much higher rate than white lives, Asian lives, Latino lives, like, you know what I mean? So that's why so when you say all lives matter, you're saying, yeah, we get it, you know, quit your whining, all lives matter, the police are treating us all the same. And that's not true. Police are not treating us all the same. Police are killing Black people at a way higher rate, which is why it should be hey, police, Black lives matter too.
Yeah. I saw a good, similar to the thing you saw about 10 bad cops, 100 good cops. I saw a thing similar to that online, which was, it's like going to a breast cancer walk and being like, all cancer sucks. Or just talking about, pancreatic cancer. It's like, hold on a second. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this. You want to have your parade, do your parade.
Yeah.
Not with us.
Yeah.
Like right now we're trying to
And
do
Black
this.
Lives Matter doesn't mean all the other lives don't matter.
Totally.
Black
Yeah.
Lives Matter means we are concentrating on the Black lives right now
Mm-hmm.
because the Black lives are the ones that are getting taken out
Mm-hmm.
in a very high number. And it's not, if you look at the numbers, like black people only make up like 15% of the population. Why do they make up 30% of police murders?
Yeah. And
You know?
okay, so a couple things I experienced, what I wanted to tell you, is I live in Williamsburg, and I just walking my dog around when coronavirus first started to be a thing, and the lockdown happened. I was getting like people talking to each other loudly so that I can hear them talk
about you being Asian?
Yes. Yeah.
What would they say?
So I was walking past two guys, and
Were they white?
They were black. And this is one example, but there's others. And he looked at me because I was walking down the street. I was walking towards him. I was walking my dog, and he looked at me, and then he looked back at his friend, and he said, "It's these Chinese motherfuckers, blah 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 blah." I couldn't actually understand what he said after that, but he said that, and then at first I was like, I don't think you know what I mean? I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't think he's trying to like passively say that like I'm a diseased person or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I cross the street and I hear him. You know how you can hear someone talking this direction and then you can hear when they start talking this direction?
Yeah.
I heard his voice go in my direction as my back turned to him.
He was turning towards you so you could hear.
Yes. So I heard that, blah, 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 Chinese, blah, 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 motherfuckers, blah, 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 disease, blah, blah. And I'm like, damn, like I really wanted to turn around and say like, this is, you shouldn't be doing that. This is not about me versus you. This is about us versus a virus.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I experienced that. I experienced maybe like 2 or 3 things like that.
Yeah.
Like in the same month, like almost like once a week, And it was like, oh, fuck. But what I'm saying is not like poor me or poor Asians because of that. I'm saying if you're an Asian person, if you experience any of that, imagine experiencing that every day for the rest of your life. And that's
right.
What it's like being black.
That's right.
So,
that's why when black people are marching in the streets, we can't be silent because
as Asians,
all of us people of color need to stick together.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like I was saying, the same person that's going to call you like a bat eating chink and go back to your country is the same person that's going to be like, all lives matter. It doesn't, that black guy deserved it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was doing something and he deserved it. That's the same that's the same energy, right? And so if we came together and when Asian people are getting, are under duress, black people can jump in and be like, hey, it's not all Asians. They're not all Chinese.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not like, this isn't a race thing. Like, let's not just make this a race thing. Like, there are people in Africa who eat bats too, or whatever. Then, and then when the black, community is under duress, then Asian people can step up and be like, hey, Black lives fucking matter and enough is enough and cops need to stop killing black people. Then we're strong. Both of our communities are stronger.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's why, that's why I can't understand like Asian people who are like, or Jewish people or, any minority group that's like, this is not my fight. It's like, well, guess what? It's all of our fight. Because when it is your fight, no one's going to come to step up to help you.
Yeah.
If you're not stepping up to help, if you're not going to step up to help a group that's not your people, then when you need help, nobody's going to step up to help you.
Yeah. That's a great message to put out there because everyone's going to need help sometime in their life. They are.
I know. And I mean, it's like we should all be against racism.
So
we should all be against racism.
I got arrested one time and it
was for what?
It's being a bad boy. I was drinking and driving. There was a There was a man dancing in the middle of the street with his pants around his ankles, and I just drove around him. Now, I had maybe over the course of the night had like 6 drinks, but it was like 3 in the morning. I'd started drinking at like 9, so I was like, okay, I think I'm okay. It's not good to drink and drive. That's just was my mentality at the time. I was fucking 22 or something. And so I'm driving home, and I swerve around this guy, but it wasn't it wasn't like a crazy swerve. It was just like I need to get around this guy swerve. So I got around him, and then I get pulled over right away. And so the shitty thing about that was that I couldn't make any excuse because I had just driven through Jack in the Box. So I couldn't be like, I need to go to the hospital. I couldn't. I was trying to, you know what I mean? Like, I have fucking like Monster Tacos right here. Like, there's no way that I can like make up some emergency excuse that of me driving. You know what I mean? So anyway, I go to jail, and
wow.
when I get in there, one of the officers was white, one of them was Mexican, and they actually drove my car back to my house for me, which was like a block away.
That's very nice of
I was,
them.
I was being really cooperative. I was like, okay,
That's very nice of them. They totally could have impounded that shit.
Well, hang on a second, because here's what happened. So I'm arrested. I get driven to the fucking place. They, put me in the holding cell. It was my first offense, so I was there for a day. Like, you're supposed to be there, if you're drunk, you're supposed to be there for like a couple hours. I was there for a day, which was horrible. Jail is the worst fucking thing. But when they do this thing where they make you put your hands up and you have to make an X and take off your shoes and I think your shirt or something. And as I'm like this, I could hear one of the guys in the back be like, Sugimoto, that's my last name. Sugimoto, is that Yakuza? And I had no idea what Yakuza was. So I was like, I thought he was trying to relate with me. Like, hey, I know someone with the last name of Yakuza. Maybe you're related to that person. Maybe we know the same people. That's what I thought he was saying, because I had no idea about like cops being racist, really. You know what I mean? Like, you hear about it, but like I didn't know. Anyway, so I'm like, yeah, maybe it's Yakuza. I have no idea. Like, just like, let me get out of this, But he was trying to egg me on, and then he kept saying shit, and I just remember being like, if they wanted to do anything, they could just do it, and they are the ones that normally should be there to protect you.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
If those are the people that are doing it, then like, who the fuck? So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Cops in our country have become above the law.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not the way this country works. We are a country of laws, and cops have to follow the laws just like everyone else. And that's why it's so enraging, these these horrible murders by cops, because that cop, Derek Chauvin, he made himself judge, jury, and executioner.
Explain that for a sec.
He made himself judge, jury, and executioner. He said, I'm judging you. I decide you're guilty. I'm going to kill you.
Oh, Jesus.
That's the only reason why. That's the only reason why someone puts their knee on someone's neck for 9 minutes when they're handcuffed. First of all, what kind of fucking small dick loser are you that you got to take a handcuffed man and put your knee on his neck for 9 minutes? What kind of small dick, small fucking tiny ass loser are you? And so he decided, this motherfucker's guilty. I'm going to kill him. I don't know if he set out to kill him, but
I think he just didn't care what he did to the guy.
Yeah. He didn't care.
Whatever happened.
Care.
I mean,
and
so
that's not,
the guy
there was
one guy that was filming that was saying, flat out saying, that's a blood choke. You're cutting off the blood to his brain. Like, he knew the choke and so when he was being interviewed, he talks about he trains jujitsu. He runs like a studio or something like that. and he saw where the guy's knee was, and he was saying that's a blood choke. Guess what comes out today? The fucking autopsy that says that's how the guy died.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking, like, I mean, the only people that you should basically have to qualify somehow in jiu-jitsu to become a cop.
Correct.
So that you know how to disarm someone, you know how to take them down safely, you know how to put them in a hold so that they don't move and not fuck their shit up, because you
That's
know
right.
you know how to how to like put someone in a hold and like not break something.
That's right. And that's how the cops are trained in Asia. You know, if you're a Japanese cop or you're a Korean cop, you don't have a gun. You ain't got no gun.
Yeah.
You've got maybe a baton, and then the rest is on you. So you better be in good shape, and you better know how to disarm someone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I just feel like, you know, I was listening to somebody speak online that was saying, like, you know, you carry yourself differently when you have a gun.
100%.
You know nobody can fuck with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the mentality that we've given to every cop in this country.
If anyone disagrees with that, I would say, like, just remember a time that you have something really expensive in your pocket. Go take out $2,000 in cash and put it in your pocket, or and see how it changes you.
Yeah, and how differently you carry yourself.
It
You're now
changes
more
you.
aware of like what's going on,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah.
If you carry a gun, you're looking to use a gun.
Yeah.
That's the thing about guns. Is if you have a lethal weapon, you're like, you know what? Try and fuck with me, because guess what? I got a gun.
Yeah. So Helen, I have a question, just in case anyone's listening to this a little bit down the line when it comes down to elections and stuff. Maybe some of this doesn't exist yet, but what should someone look out for? I know that there are voting guides out there. Someone that maybe doesn't have enough time, someone that needs to quickly understand, because there's a lot of times I'll get in the voting booth. I've been guilty of this in the past, and I'm not proud of it, but I don't know someone, so I'll just vote something. And that's not good. So
Don't vote something.
Vote nothing.
Just vote nothing.
Okay, so that's one thing to do.
Vote nothing.
So and then another thing to do.
Because I found myself, like, I did this as an experiment once, where I got like a voting guide, like an early voting guide in the mail, and I was like, before I do any research, I'm just gonna guess, right? So obviously,
wait, hold on. You were gonna guess like name just based off of names?
That's right.
And then go read who they are?
And then go read up on them.
That's a great experiment.
It was a great experiment, because obviously, like, being a human, you know, you're like, oh, this person's Asian. Mm-hmm. You know, like that. Yeah, I would love to have an Asian council person. That sounds good. So I'll check their name. Or this person's Latino. Like, we live in a very Latino district. Like, great. You know, I'll go for the Latino name over the white sounding name.
Yeah.
Or this person's Armenian. Like, whatever. Like, you're making generalizations about person just based on their name. And then you look up some of these people, and it's like, oh, this Asian person is the most militant asshole that's like a hardcore capitalist pig who's like, you know, wants to defund schools and wants to do, like, you know what I mean? God. Like, so you can do more harm than good by guessing.
Okay.
So if you get into the voting booth and you don't know, leave it blank.
So another thing is...
Leave it to the people who have done their research.
So one thing that I found really helpful in the last election was a voter's guide.
That's right.
I would say that's a big thing to look out for, but what's a good way to figure out what voting guide is a good voting guide?
Well, for instance, if you knew that you wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, you could just Google voting guide Bernie Sanders.
Okay, great.
LA, you know, or progressive, like voting guide progressive.
Okay.
You know, whatever district, New York district, you know,
Great.
Whatever your district name is.
Okay.
And somebody's done it, you know, like in most places, somebody has done it. Somebody has done the research and somebody has put it up online for you.
Okay.
I use them, you know what I mean? Like in LA, there's tons of like progressive voting guides. Or reach out to someone who you know, who lives near you, who has done their homework.
Now,
like,
I
have a lot of friends who reached out to me the last election, was like, okay, what do I do for this? And
I mean, that's why I reached out to you for
X,
this.
Vote B, vote C.
Well, I mean, thanks for doing this again. You've been super insightful about
Yeah.
so many different things that have to do with this issue going on. I always feel more in touch with what's going on when I talk to you. So it's thank you for doing this, and I hope that
Yeah,
people have
thank
good
you.
takeaway from doing this.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. And my number one thing is we have to, people of color, we really need to hold it together. Like, there's been too much racism between the races, like black people against Koreans,
mhm,
or Latino, Asians and Latinos, or Asians and blacks. Like,
mhm,
imagine if we all like held, came together and
yeah.
supported each other. And that's why I'm 100% for the Black Lives Matter marches. And because I am a racial minority, just like they are, just
Mhm.
like Latinos are. And harming one of us is harming all of us, because again, the same person that's going to call you a bat eating chink and go back to your country is the
Mhm.
same energy that's going to be like, all lives matter, it doesn't matter, black people, they ask for it, is the same energy that's like, hey, you dirty Mexican, go back to your country,
Yeah.
go back to your shithole country. It's the same
Yeah.
racism. It's the same energy. It's the same negativity. And
Right.
we need to get past that.
Mhm. Okay. Do you normally post on your social media platforms about movements that you can donate to, voters guides, things like this?
I mean, I try when I can. Obviously this week I have been doing a lot of that with the donating. I have
Mhm.
been posting a lot about, the fact that the LA budget was due today,
Mhm.
and that we needed to call and email our representatives to be like, defund the police, because the
Mhm.
police have gotten fucking out of hand.
Yeah.
The immediate problem right now is that the police have gotten out of hand,
Yeah.
and they are not doing what they were supposed to do. They're
Mhm.
not doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to protect and serve, and they're just being thugs right now.
I love Neil Brennan's joke about protect and serve being in quotes as if it's sarcasm.
So
um,
true.
well, okay. What's the best place for people to find you if they enjoy your ideas?
You can find me on my socials at funny Helen Hong. It's funny Helen Hong because some other bitch named Helen Hong has my shit.
Oh, really? And
She has my handle.
what's a Black Lives Matter social you think is worth putting ahead of others to follow right now? Not ahead of others, but
Um,
you know what I mean. Like, what's an important one that you like?
Actually, you know what? I think Variety just put out. Hold on, I took a picture of it. Variety magazine, believe it or not, just put out today 11 anti-racist accounts that are worth following.
Great. Okay, so maybe that's worth a Google.
Variety magazine, 11 anti-racist, and we're talking about anti-racist. Like, we have to be actively anti-racist and not just like not racist.
Okay.
So that just came out in Variety today or yesterday, I guess.
Okay.
11 anti-racist accounts to follow,
Well, for
and those are
viewers,
those are going to be way more activist than me.
mm,
I do what I can. I'm not as active as I should be. I do what I can, but there's some great, really like active people like Touré. I follow Touré. I follow Kendrick. It's we gotta take our leads from the real leaders out there and really follow these people and listen to what they're saying,
yeah.
because
Mm,
like I that's the other thing to know too, is like I can speak to the Asian American community. I can speak to women. I'm not going to tell black people how they should and shouldn't be protesting.
yeah. I mean, that's why the only reason, I wasn't gonna. I wanted to make sure and ask you the right question, which was what can the Asian community do
Yeah.
for the Black Lives Matter movement,
Yeah.
and not, because and I also, just to be completely transparent, I might say this in the intro, but to this podcast, but I wanted to get a black person on and talk about the movement, but for one, I didn't want to take away their time from protesting today.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
for two, I didn't want to exploit, their their time, their image, anything like that. I know that they are busy right now. I know that they have a duty right now. And I think the most important thing for me to do is figure out what I can do in my arm's reach.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to be honest, there a lot of these movements have been giving me personal traction within to move forward in a lot of progress, because I wasn't always woke, as we could say. I grew up in a Republican city, and Republican parents, I didn't necessarily have the tools needed to be a part of movements like this. So these movements are working for people that have been like me or are like me now.
Yeah.
But it's been over the last 5-10 years, but it's happened. And I just so that people know, it's not about changing the far right's mind. As if you can do that, that'd be great. Chances are that's not happening with protests like this, but you are changing people's mind who just don't know, So.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're seeing now is people who look like you and me are the ones that are getting, and white people are the
really
ones that
hot
are
people.
getting. Yes. Yeah. But non-black people are seeing how brutal the cops can be, and how irrational the cops can be. And I think we're going to see, there's council members and legislators and celebrities that are getting shot with rubber bullets right now. And I think that's kind of what it took.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it took to be they're not making this shit up. Mm-hmm. The cops have gotten fucking out of hand. And the way to hit them is through their pocketbook.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've hit a bit over time, but
yeah.
I appreciate your time, and
Thank you.
I'll give you a
Thanks
call aside from this. I'd love to catch up with you. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you so much again.
Yay. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching today's episode of Face to Facetime or listening to it. I loved today's episode. There's nothing better. It's fun to sit there and joke and do that, but that hits a certain. That's fun, and then it's not fun after that. You know what I mean? It doesn't. That fun, that good laugh and stuff. The laugh stops eventually, and not in a bad way. It just you laugh forever at some jokes. But for this, I learned a lot, and I'm gonna take this forever. This knowledge, I'm gonna have this forever, which is great. So if you made it to this point, you have that knowledge too. I know I'm not the dumbest person in the world, so I know that there's people out there that probably, hopefully, learn from this. The fact that fucking cops come from slave wranglers, that's upsetting. There's more research to do, obviously. You can't just say, that's where it started, so that's exactly what it is now. But, I don't know. Is it? Research, knowledge, education is the most important thing, I think. Because then you know what to do. Then you know where to donate. Then you know how to help. Anyway, you guys, if you made it to this point, that's great. But subscribe to the podcast if you feel like you need to. But most importantly, Black Lives Matter movement. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching or listening. Bye-bye.